Welcome to the Generational Wealth Podcast. What is the truth about money and relationships? The truth is, our leading. So, today's show, I'm going to show you 10 ways to succeed with money in your marriage. All I need you to do is smash that like button. Guys, I want to give a big shout out to everyone who's booked a free session for their private call on how to insure your way to wealth. How the rich use insurance to protect a fortune. Guys, if you haven't done this, you need to do it now because the slots are booked up. This is where I'm giving a free 1 hour private consultation where I'll show you little known strategies that wealthy people use to grow their wealth through insurance. So if you're ready to take control of your financial future, click the link in the comments below to book your session today. Shout out to everybody that's on. Shout out to my brother Gabar. Good to see you on, brother Gabar. I was so excited to be able to meet brother Gabar and all of you that are signing up for your private session. I'm telling you, if y'all ain't registered for that yet, you're missing out. Make sure that you click the link in the comments below so that way you can book your free 1 hour slot. Shout out to Michelle. Shout out to L'Oreal. This must be a hot topic. Y'all must want to know how to communicate with your spouse about finances. There's something about money that makes people fight. How many of y'all have ever been in money fights in your relationship? Leave me a comment and let me know. Y'all might have things that y'all want me to talk about on tonight's podcast. So I'm going to make sure that we talk about it. Okay. Brother Gabar said, likewise, Ak, it's been a long time coming. Absolutely, my brother. Absolutely. L'Oreal says, yes, yes, yes. Hell yes. I've had all kind of money fights. Michelle Jael said, woo. Yes. Well, it looks like this is a hot topic. So please make sure that y'all smash that like button. Make sure that y'all tag a friend. Tonight we're going in, and I definitely want to see y'all on camera. Make sure y'all keep that same energy when I put the link out to get on camera. In fact, I might put the link out now while y'all playing. While y'all are all fired up, I might put the link in the comments below. Y'all stay on the lookout. Tonight, we're talking about money and marriage. Now, guys, the reason why I'm going over this is because as we go through how to create generational wealth, you can't create generational wealth if somebody is ruining the bag. If somebody is ruining your finances, it's no way that you're going to create generational wealth. And so you got to make sure that you and your spouse are on the same page. Shout out to my brother Yasha Allah for the $10 sponsorship. Thank you so much for the support. It's greatly appreciated. Brother Yasha Allah is one of the top sponsors of the Generational Wealth Podcast. Once again, I want to give a big shout out to everyone who's booked their free session. I've been hosting a free 1 hour consultation where I meet with you personally to discuss how to ensure your way to wealth. I'm giving you the game on how rich people use insurance to build wealth. A lot of you have probably heard that rich people use other people's money. They don't use their money when going into ventures. I want to show you guys how wealthy people use other people's money to create generational wealth for their families. If you haven't done so, make sure that you click the link in the comments below to book your free session. I also want to give a shout out to our sponsors. Big shout out to Brother Yasha Allah, who has already started the show off. I also want to let you know what a sponsor is. A sponsor is someone who keeps this show alive because I cannot do this without your financial support. A lot of you guys know that I'm on a mission to educate our community about personal finance. And I'm doing these shows 3 times a week, and I ask that you support the movement. So if you get a lot of value from tonight's podcast, please do me a favor and tap the dollar icon directly below the live chat. There's a dollar sign that allows you to give a super chat donation. And whoever is the highest donor for tonight's podcast, they will be the official sponsor for the show. Your donations keep the show going. And if you're not able to donate, at least smash that like button. Okay. So let's get into this, y'all. What is the truth about money and relationships? How to discuss finances with your spouse. Money fights are the second leading cause of divorce in America. 30 to 40% of all of the divorces in this country are due to finances. It's due to making bad decisions with money, guys. So if we're not on the same page with our spouse when it comes to money, there's a good chance that the marriage will fail. I have been married now for 10 years, and I want to walk you through 10 things that we've done to win with money. What are the 10 ways that you can succeed with money in your marriage? Number one, you should have already had a discussion about money before getting married. A lot of money fights happen if you never talked about it before you tied the knot. Guys, there's prep work that you need to do before your relationship. Before you get into a marriage, you need to already understand the other person's point of view. Communication is key in any relationship. Y'all know that. And money is such a big topic. See, the difference between marriage and just casual dating, which I don't support, is when you're married, everything is in one roof. There's no, oh, this person said something and I'm going to go back to my house. No, 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 no. Y'all are both in the same place. By the time that y'all come together as one, you need to already communicate on how you operate. You want to make sure that you get proper marriage counseling. And this is a very important subject. I'm going to tell you all a story about me and my wife's money talk before we got married. So, my wife knew that I budgeted my money. And the reason why she knew that is because I told it to her as we were courting. And she didn't know at the time how important it was to me, but I made sure that she understood it before we got married. I told her, if you are bad with money, this could be a deal breaker. So we spent time working on a budget, and I was showing her how to properly manage her money so that when we got into a marriage, we would both be on the same page. Sometimes people don't like having uncomfortable talks. And if money is a very sensitive subject, if you're avoiding it, it's going to cause problems down the line. It might not be today when it's love at first sight, but eventually life gets real. There's going to be unexpected emergencies. There's going to be times where you're going to see how your spouse really thinks. And if you haven't talked about that, it can surprise you. I remember when I first got married, my wife had a few financial commitments that she needed to take care of. And I don't know if she forgot to tell me about it, but those are the types of things that you want to make sure that you talk about before you get married. Listen, y'all, if y'all gotta hide stuff to get in y'all's marriage, the marriage ain't gonna work. Before you get married, you need to put it all on the table. Let me look at these comments. Can I get a witness? Can I get commentary from y'all? Now, there's two types of people that should be watching this podcast. The first person is soaking up game before they get married. Y'all are the smartest ones here. The second type of person is the person that's married or has been married before, and you're like, man, where was this video 10 years ago, Uzziah? Where were you when I was trying to have a conversation about money in marriage? You've got to follow these 10 steps. I will promise you this, for any person that follows these 10 steps, your marriage is far more likely to succeed. And I want to tell y'all something. I know I serve an audience that's very spiritual, and you might think, well, you know what? Money isn't that big of a deal to me. We seek the kingdom first, and that's all good. I agree. But the problem is, you're living in a first world country. You're living in a place that is extremely capitalistic. If everything keeps going up in price, trust me, money's going to matter, whether it's already a hot button topic in your mind or whether the bills start to pile up and it becomes a more pressing issue. One way or another, the economy is going to knock on your front door and it's going to get your attention. So it's better that you be proactive about it than deal with it when it's too late. The first thing that you need to do is have a clear discussion about money before you get married. Do me this favor. If you wait too late, this is how the money fights start. This is what ends up leading to divorce. Now, let's talk about the second way you can win with money in your marriage. You've got to understand personalities. It's not enough to just talk about the subject of money. You've got to understand your spouse's background. You got to understand who's the responsible one in the marriage, who's the spender. And it's funny because in some of those marriages, you might end up trading places. I'm going to give you an example. Before my wife and I got married, I was the most responsible when it came to managing a budget. When we got married, a few years down the line, my wife was more focused on the budget than me. And so we had gotten so deep into the habit of making sure that we were on track financially that once I started not to care, it started arguments. It caused problems. I'm just giving you all the real. You could do such a good job of showing your spouse how to manage money in a marriage that they're going to hold you accountable. But you got to know their personality. What matters to them? A lot of times we can communicate in a language that really doesn't translate with the other person. So when we have this conversation about personalities, you want to start with how your spouse was raised. The reason why you want to start with how your spouse was raised is because a lot of their thoughts about money stem from the lessons that they learned from their parents in childhood. Many of us grew up in destructive environments, which means you could be destructive with money. Maybe you had a parent that was an alcoholic. Maybe you had someone in your neighborhood with a gambling problem. That will influence you. You wanna make sure that you're very clear about your financial background because that will cause a lot of tension in the relationship. A lot of times in marriage, people be doing stuff and you don't know what the hell the other person is thinking. Like, why was you thinking that? And you gotta know, okay, the reason why this person thinks this way is because they grew up under a certain context. And that's not to say that that was a wrong context, but it's just that we gotta understand the other person. We've got to know your upbringing, that's not the universal way to live life. All of us come from different places. We've had different experiences, and when 2 come together as one, you've gotta understand your personality so that way you can establish a common ground. I want us to talk about knowing the other person's language. What do I mean when I say that? I know a lot of y'all have probably heard about the 5 love languages, that's a book, but when I'm talking about the other person's language in this context, I'm saying what matters to them. See, when my wife and I first got married, I started talking to her about things regarding money that didn't make sense to her because she didn't care. But she didn't care because I was talking about things out of her language. I might as well have been speaking Spanish, y'all. You gotta know how to speak your spouse's language. So it finally dawned on me, because y'all know men can be slow, women value security. So every time I speak with my wife about anything when it comes to money, I'm always speaking about how my decisions secures our family. You've got to know your spouse's language. The first step is making sure that you have a conversation prior to marriage. The second step is understanding personalities. Let's look at some of these comments because now I see y'all are tapping in. For those of y'all that are just joined, tonight we're talking about money and relationships, how to communicate with your spouse. Brother Yasha Allah, who's been married, said, that's true. If it's not on the table, problems will come up. Facts, facts, facts. You got to make sure that you put it out early. A lot of y'all will destroy your marriage because you think, oh, if I tell the person how I really am when it comes to money, that's what stop the relationship from happening. That's the worst thing that you can do to your spouse. You need to give your spouse the opportunity to understand who you are before you get married. And both of y'all got to have the sense and the courage to have the hard talks. If the other person isn't bringing it up, you got to bring it up. And you got to make sure that you're setting a right environment where they can bring it to the table judgment free. You gotta initiate the conversation just to understand where the other person is, not yelling down their throat. That only comes if y'all come to agreement on stuff and somebody is breaking those agreements, okay? That comes much later. Right now, everything is safe. When we're talking about money and relationships, you gotta be able to establish boundaries. And you wanna do that as early as you can. Second thing that you gotta do is understand this person's upbringing, because when you understand their upbringing, that's when you can discern how they got to where they are today. Let's look at the comments. My wife says, "He is telling the truth. Financial commitments equals credit card debt." Yes. See, when y'all come together in marriage, it all comes out. So just make sure that you share these things. And one of the things that I would really encourage, and I know that it sounds like a lot, have a copy of your credit report ready before you get married, especially for husbands. Husbands, if you're getting ready to marry your future wife, make sure you've seen her credit report because she might tell you, "Oh, I don't have no debt. Oh, everything is all good. I'm good with my money." Make sure the credit bureaus can co-sign that. You just wanna make sure that everything is solid before you get in the game. And before I got married, me and Ariel would sit down. We would have budget meetings together. I wouldn't leave her hanging. I would take the time to show her how to properly manage money, and then I wanted to give her time to manage it on her own. A lot of you guys are thinking that your woman doesn't have to know anything about finances at all. I totally disagree because there has to come a point where if it comes down to it, she needs to be able to manage your affairs. Let me explain myself. Am I saying that your spouse needs to know how to be a CFO? No. I'm not saying that your wife has to know how to be a chief financial officer or an accountant in your marriage. But if she's going to contact your accountant because you're in the hospital, I would hope that she understands basic terms. A lot of you guys are thinking, "Oh, I'm just gonna have me a trophy wife. She ain't gotta know nothing." But the Bible tells us not to give yourself to a light woman. When you read in Proverbs 31, it tells you that a woman considers a field and buys it. That means she has enough financial education to make wise decisions. She's able to assess, perform cost benefit analysis, and then come to you with her findings. If you don't have that, you in for a world of trouble. And I want to give a big shout out to my sister Yanaya, who just passed her insurance exam. Let's all give her a round of applause. I'm so proud of this sister. I'm man, there's no words. This sister has worked very hard to get her insurance license so that way she could join the team. We're doing some big things in 2023, y'all. Y'all just watch and see. That's the reason why I put the link up before about how wealthy people use insurance to build a fortune. This is one of the main drivers of generational wealth. Y'all got to sign up for the free session if y'all haven't done so yet. Ariel says, congratulations. Let's make sure that we show support, y'all. This community is all about showing each other support because your win is everybody's win. We're in this together. But let's get back to the topic. The truth about money and relationships. 10 ways to succeed with money in your marriage. We talked about having an upfront discussion. We talked about understanding personalities. You got to make sure that you speak the other person's language. A lot of times when my wife would tell me stuff, I just wouldn't listen because it wasn't a language that I could understand. Like if there was something that was broken in the house, the number one way that she would get me to take action on it is if she could tell me what the financial damages would be if I did not take care of it very quickly. So if there was a baseboard that was cracked or if there was something that was going on in the house, I always got a billion things going on. The number one way that she would get me to understand her perspective is if she would tell me how much neglecting what she said would cost. You gotta know how to speak the other person's language. Third thing that you gotta do to win in marriage is set financial goals together. I know a lot of us are overlooking this, but I need y'all to hear me. Set financial goals together. The reason why you need to set financial goals together is not because you're, as the man, trying to give away all the power. It's so that you can stay on the same page. So if you as a man, you're just out here living life. If your wife don't know what you got going, how is she going to support your process? The wife is created to be a helpmeet to the husband. She cannot help you if she doesn't know what needs to be helped. So you've gotta communicate the goals. This is how we're trying to move forward, and there needs to be buy-in from both sides. When you set financial goals as a couple, it helps both parties get the same priorities. Let me give you guys some examples of how this comes to life. If you have a goal of getting out of debt, you need to make sure that both of y'all are on the same page so that you know how to control your spending. If you have a goal of reaching an emergency fund, you need to make sure that both parties understand where you're going. You need to both parties need to be clear about where the money is going. Why is it going there? What is the benefit for the family? And the best way I do this is to tie rewards to the goal's accomplishment. So if we talk about getting out of debt, I'm going to show my wife the doors that it will open. A lot of you know my story about how when I was 25 years old, I bought my first real estate investment property in Austin. I was only able to do that because I had gotten out of debt. I had already set a roadmap that once I got out of my $95,000 in student loan debt, I would then take all the money that I was putting towards those student loans, and I would start putting it down on a down payment. You gotta be able to communicate the vision. Where there's no vision, the people perish, and you cannot expect your spouse to read your mind. Can I get a witness on that? Can the church give a amen? You cannot expect your spouse to read your mind. I need to be charging people for this, man. I don't know how y'all are getting this game for free. I'm literally outlining every problem that people will have in their marriage when it comes to money. A lot of problems happen in marriage because you expect the other person to be a professional mind reader and you haven't taken the time to outline why something is important to you. Then they press your button. They don't realize what they're doing at the time. Some do. Some of y'all got some crazy spouses. That's another story. But for those that genuinely don't realize when they're pushing their buttons when it comes to money, you've got to do your job in expressing the goal. What is the goal? Why is it important? And what will your family be able to accomplish after getting it done? If I set an emergency fund goal in my house, the reward for that is going to be a vacation. You should always reward your spouse for getting on the same page. And a lot of time, guys, you'd be surprised. When you can set up the conversation in the right way, you could take it from a spouse who really didn't care about money, who wasn't good with money at all, to somebody that's so fired up because they care about what they're gonna get at the end. So if my wife knows, "Hey, we're going on a cruise after this," of course she's gonna wanna support the goal because she knows what's in it for her. But if you're just barking orders and no one can understand the value behind it, it's gonna be a lot harder for you to get on the same page. Just giving you all the game. You gotta know how this plays into your life and your future success. The fourth thing that you need to do to win with money in your marriage is have a budget meeting. I hope y'all taking notes. Have a budget meeting at the end of every month. Let me tell you what I'm going to do in the next 48 hours, Lord willing. In the next 48 hours, I'm going to have a sit down meeting with my wife, and we're going to discuss how the finances were managed for the month of January. We're going to talk about our next steps of improvement. And then we're going to talk about our financial goals for the month of February. My wife could already tell y'all exactly what's going to happen. It's already set. This is already on our calendar. We will already have communication. Hey, make sure that you finish spending for the month so that way I can close out the budget. We're going to have a budget meeting to discuss where we overspent, where we underspent, ideas that came from our spending. Every month, we're going to have this discussion. Why? Because no 2 months are the same. When you start having budget meetings with your spouse, it's gonna go a long way because they don't understand what you're doing with the money. And some of you might be thinking, "Well, they don't need to understand what they're doing with the money. I'm the man." The reason why it's important to have some communication is because you want your wife to complement your efforts. She can either be an asset or a liability. You want to make sure that you're positioning your wife to be an asset in your life. But if she doesn't understand the goal, it's already a recipe for disaster. So when you have a budget meeting, not only are you reporting on the direction of the finances, you're already establishing the things that she's able to do, so that way she doesn't have to worry. Let me give you all an example. During the budget meeting, we establish my wife's play money budget. The play money budget is the amount of money that she's given for the month to spend on her play. That's all I can put it. Recreation, fun, the things that you like to do, whatever your outlet is. We're gonna have a discussion before the month begins about how much money you're gonna have for the month to enjoy for yourself. Why does this matter? When my wife wasn't having a budget meeting, she would always spend money and worry about if she was doing too much. So when we first got married, if she bought a dress, she would always get nervous because she didn't know whether or not I was cool with her buying a dress. But I always told her, "Listen, we already had the budget meeting. You got this amount of money, spend it how you want to. Long as you ain't acting crazy and running up in these streets, this is your play money budget. Spend it the way that you want." When you have that kind of meeting, it then sets a path to put everybody on the same page. It makes your spouse calm. Hey, I can go and buy ice cream and I don't have to worry about my spouse tripping. I can go and buy coffee at Starbucks. I don't have to worry about my spouse tripping. I can go and buy a dress. I can go and buy shoes. As long as I stick with a budget, it's all good. The reason why a lot of married couples get into fights is because instead of operating off of a budget, you go tit for tat about every expense. That's a recipe for disaster. So maybe your spouse never spent any money at all. And the one time that they buy something, now it's World War III. Well, you never set any boundaries. You never established, hey, this is how much money you can spend, this is how much money you can spend. You've gotta be able to set those parameters, y'all. You gotta be able to set it in place to where you set it and you forget it. My wife never wonders what I'm spending my money on when it comes to the play money. I don't get caught up about her every expense. The only thing that I care about is by the end of this month, were you on budget? Now, if you're far off the budget, then it's a problem. That's when I could step in. But I just want you to think about that logically. When I leave the boundaries to the end of the month budget meeting, that means there's only an opportunity for there to be a problem one time in a month. That's a lot different from people that fight about money every single day. If you can limit the volume of arguments that you can have, then obviously you're setting your marriage up for peace. You wanna find peace in your life, but it requires structure. I'm gonna check these comments for a bit and just see where y'all are at. Shout out to my brother Rick. Brother Gabbard mentioned discipline and accountability. I want y'all to leave me a comment. Let me know about these steps. Okay? Let me know what y'all's thoughts are. Have y'all gone through this in y'all's marriage? Are these gems that y'all are picking up? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Do you see any value behind it? And if you do see value behind it, please do me a favor and smash that like button. If you really want to show love, tap that dollar icon directly below. Not asking for a world of money, y'all. I'm just asking for a little bit of support to keep the show going. And if you use Cash App, and that's how you like to send money, you could send the money through Cash App, $Gen Wealth Podcast. Whoever has the highest donation for tonight's show will be the official sponsor for tonight's topic. Okay? So we've already talked about 4 ways to win with money in your marriage. Number 5, gotta communicate budget during the month. What do I mean? You gotta communicate how the budget is going. You'll set a plan, but you need to make sure that the plan is on track. I want y'all to follow what I'm saying. Do y'all know what I just said about the only thing that I care about is, did we reach the budget by the end of the month? I'm able to track that during the month just by looking at our budgeting tool. I always recommend that you guys use Mint.com. It's a free online budgeting software that allows you to manage your money. A lot of y'all don't have a budget at all. I'm already knowing what time it is. Leave me a comment, let me know. So many people have no idea how much money they're spending on food, how much money they're spending on gas, how much money they're spending shopping, and then you wonder why as soon as you get paid, where has all the money gone? If you're going to win with money, period, you need to have a budget. You can review the budget during the month, you can project how the month is going to go. Let me give y'all an example. This month, my wife and I had a conversation about paying for some very important expenses to actually get ahead of the game. Sometimes different opportunities will come to you if you're already prepared. So my wife and I, we had a sit down discussion and we decided that we were going to put extra money towards an expense just so that way we could spend less money in future budgets. And the reason why I'm bringing this up right now is because if we didn't review our budget during the month, we would have no way of knowing if we were in a solid position to be able to spend a little bit extra in unexpected expenses. I just wanna let y'all know, one of the categories in our monthly budget is unexpected expenses. You have to allocate for expenses that you don't expect to come up from month to month. So let me give you an example. When you set your budget, you want to have a budget for things like food, transportation, play money, the list goes on. And you also need to have a category for unexpected expenses. So when my wife and I see opportunities that are in the market, our budget is going to tell us whether we can capitalize on that opportunity or not. This is how people build wealth. They build wealth because they do their homework up front because they never know when the opportunity is coming. So when I'm monitoring the budget, it allows me to make sure that I'm steering the household on the right path so that we could be successful at the end of the month. Hear what I'm saying? I'm still only having a budget meeting with my wife at the end of the month. But as I'm monitoring the budget through the month, I may see something that may say, hey, I'm going to cut back my spending in a certain area because we may need to spend a little bit more somewhere else. I'm seeing that we budgeted this much for unexpected expenses, and sometimes we may end up needing to spend a little bit more. I'm going to quarterback how the finances are going during the month to ensure that everything is solid by the month's end. Well, if you are managing the money for the house, it's important that you start the month with a zero-based budget and just make sure that you are monitoring it along the way. Now, for those of you guys who went through my free webinar on the 3 keys to financial freedom, you'll know I have an automated system that allows my money to go where it needs to go every month on autopilot. When you set your money behind the right systems, you don't have to spend a lot of time managing money, guys. I can spend less than 1 hour per month reviewing my finances. I want you guys to be able to set your life in a way to where you don't have to spend so much time just tracking. And let you guys in on a secret. This is how a lot of people get stuck in the middle class. A lot of people get stuck in the middle class because they're so busy managing their money, they never spend enough time making money. When you study the habits of wealthy people, they create systems that manages their money for them so that way they can focus on building the wealth. If you're one of those people that spends all day cutting coupons, you're so busy trying to manage the little that you have that there's no time for you to go out and make more. If you're going to be successful with money, you need to spend 90% of your time focused on financial offense and 10% of the time on financial defense. Do y'all hear what I just said? The reason why your marriage is going through problems with money is because you're probably not spending enough time on offense and both parties are fighting about defense. Let me give y'all an example. Let's say right now you're living in a neighborhood where you're constantly check to check. You're always butting heads about your expenses. If living paycheck to paycheck, that's already going to create hostility. The best thing for you to do is put yourself in a situation where you have a cushion. You always want to strive to make more money than your expenses allow. You want to get into what's known as financial minimalism. You want to put yourself in a position to where you could live off of half of the money that you make because you make enough to give emergency protection. This is why you need financial offense. But what most people do is they rack up so many expenses, they spend beyond their means, and then they're fighting with their spouse about how to pay the bills and keep the lights on. You don't wanna do that. You wanna spend 90% of your time focused on financial offense. This is when you're working on money. 10% of the time on defense. But what a lot of middle class people have been taught is spend most of your time on defense. Save a little bit of the money that you have, right? A penny saved is a penny earned. Cut coupons. Never enjoy your life. Put all of your money towards your retirement. And guess what? When you're 70 years old, that's when you're finally gonna be able to enjoy your life and enjoy your money, even though most people are still having to work. Want that to happen to you guys. The only way to avoid that is if you spend time on offense. When you spend time on offense, that will compensate for some of your money flaws. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Some of you guys got a spending habit. If you're on financial offense, it can compensate for some of that. Now, if you're just out here being a damn fool, I don't know what to tell you because you can never out earn stupidity. But what I'm saying is, some of y'all are so strict about every cent. The problem isn't the financial defense. The problem is you're just not making enough money. You're living in a place where the cost of living is always going up. We gotta realize if inflation is always going up and making life more expensive, you can only cut so many coupons. You gotta really focus on investing in yourself so that you can build new skills that are more profitable. We'll talk more about that later. You've gotta communicate how the budget is going per month. The sixth thing that you gotta do is know how to handle money fights. Disagreements about money is part of the relationship. And guys, how much you do, problems will come. That's life. What's important is taking the right steps to reduce the number of conflicts and making sure that during the conflicts, you're speaking and communicating in a healthy and productive way. Some of the ways that I recommend that you work through this is understand trade-offs, get financial counseling, and finding ways to get on the same page. Let me explain what I mean when I'm talking about trade-off. If you followed my earlier step about having financial goals, you already have different plans in mind. The problem is we all want things to happen overnight, instant gratification. If you're trying to win with money, it doesn't work that way. So typically, a lot of money fights will happen because one person wants one thing while another person wants somebody else. Wants no something else. Hopefully, you don't want somebody else, right? That would be a big problem. Freudian slip. You cannot do it all. So if you can't do it all, you gotta get on the same page about what you can accomplish for today. You gotta be clear about the top priorities. When the husband and wife know, "Hey, we yes, we want to accomplish multiple things, but of the multiple things that we want to accomplish, if we can't accomplish nothing else, this is the one thing that we can do." You gotta be very clear on that because one of me and my wife's biggest challenges is that we wanna do it all. And life has a way of showing us you cannot do it all in a day. Rome was not built overnight. So if Rome wasn't built overnight, what can you accomplish for the moment? You got to get clear on that, because when you're not clear on that, that's when a lot of fights happen. One person wants to do this, another person wants to do that. One person is thinking, hey, the other person is going to be able to do this at a particular time, but then the other person needs to make sure that they're communicating about what can be done and what cannot. Y'all got to be very clear from the time that you set goals and plans to communicate with your spouse on if there's going to be any delays. Understand, guys, life gets in the way. So you might have a goal of getting out of debt by a certain time, but then an emergency comes up and it costs more money. You got to be very vocal. Hey, we're going to have to follow this plan for one more month. You got to make sure that you do that, guys, because if you get to the end of the month and you haven't communicated it, the other person is going to be thinking, hey, we're clear now. I thought it was all good. And then when you tell them on the back end, that's when they're going to get upset because they already got their hopes up with other plans. And then that's going to cause arguments and fights. You want to stop the drama. And the best way that you can do that is by being clear about the trade-offs up front. I'm gonna put this link to Cam up one more time in the chat. Just make sure y'all getting comfortable on this podcast. If you haven't done so already, please make sure that you smash that like button. Please make sure that you share. Please make sure that you subscribed, and most importantly, please make sure that you've donated. If you donated through Cash App, please let me know in the comments because I need to be able to check that and give you your proper shout out. Thank you guys for your support. Tonight, we're talking about the truth about money and relationships and how to communicate effectively with your spouse, how to discuss finances with your spouse. Let's talk about some of the comments. My brother Rick said that this is a dope way to keep things within the structure. That's the reason why we have these 10 steps. If you guys don't have any steps on how to work through your finances in marriage, is going to cause problems. Unless you're filthy rich, money is going to be an issue. And even if you were filthy rich, money would be an issue. More money, more problems. You've got to have a way of knowing how to address money in marriage. It's that simple. Brother Rick said it's like the Most High is giving us guidelines to operate in while wanting to give us the world. You gotta follow the steps, man. You gotta follow the commandments. These are basic principles, godly principles on how to stay on one accord. Sister Anaya says that she uses mint.com. For those that haven't checked it out, make sure that you do it. It's a free budgeting software. And I'm not surprised that Sister Yanaya uses Mint because she's very organized, she's very on top of things, and I'm sure that it goes a long way with helping her manage her money. For those that don't have it, make sure you check it out. Brother Yasha Allah says, yes, it will happen if there's no budget. World War III can break out. He said he was fixing to go to jail when he was younger. Yes, it could drive you to that point, man. Money fight is the second leading cause of divorce in America. And I promise you, a lot of those money fights started from the 6 steps that we already went over. I promise you that in most people's marriages, in most people's relationships, most of their fights sparked from not following the 6 steps that I shared with you on this podcast. If you want to protect your marriage, you need to take this podcast seriously, guys. You need to share this with your spouse. Some of y'all, you could be on a rocky road and you need to tell your spouse, hey, I need you to watch this podcast. You won't listen if I say it. Listen when Uzziah says it and then make me the bad guy. Sometimes that's what the women be doing. They wanna make sure that their husbands are managing the money. My brother Rick says he needs to get some skills to get to the next level and stay afloat. Absolutely, my brother, because you cannot get ahead only through financial defense. I gotta continue to stress this. Yes, budget your money. Yes, spend below your means. But a lot of people's means are so low, it's hard to spend below your means. If you're not hardly making anything to begin with, how are you ever going to put food on the table? How are you ever going to get around? If you're living in America, you have to have money. We're not somewhere where money is just not a thing. America is very expensive, y'all. Okay, so let's make sure that we're responsible. I see my brother Yasha is on camera. I'm about to bring him in just a bit. I'm gonna go through these next few points, but I want y'all to look at this comment. Sister Naya said, I created a vision financial board, wrote all of my debt on there, and eliminated them one at a time. All of my debt got eliminated except the house. Excellent, my sister. Job well done. That's the exact way to do it. I'm so happy that you've been checking out this podcast, and hopefully you've been getting some good value from it. I might need you on here in a minute to show the people how it's done. So now let's go through the final steps to avoid money fight. Should you have separate accounts or joint accounts? Y'all didn't think I was going there. I'm not going to dictate to you what you should do in your house, but I'm going to walk you through the pros and cons of both and how I do things. So, when it comes to the pros and cons of separate accounts, the pro is you have more independence and less risk. When you have separate accounts for both husband and wife, it gives the other person independence to spend their money how they want. It also comes with less risk because if one of the persons in the marriage is bad with money, they can only run through the money that's in their account. They cannot run through the money that's in your separate account. This is why some marriages operate like this. Another reason why people tend to have separate accounts is because maybe one person does not want to disclose to the other person how much money they make. Another reason why people have separate accounts is because they are worried that if they have a joint account, all money will be lost. A lot of these things would have been resolved if y'all would have followed the first step. Having communication before you get married and making sure that you get on the same page, so that way you don't have to worry about your spouse sabotaging anything. But if you skipped that step, when you get into marriage, having 2 separate accounts can give one or both parties more independence to use their money how they choose. It also gives less risk. Now, the con of having separate accounts is that in a lot of ways, you're not working together as a team. You're not putting the finances together, and each person is doing their own thing. I'm very big on operating as a team. If you're in my church, you know this. I'm very big on stressing the importance of things not being a one-man show, and I believe that when you can work as a unit, you can get a lot more done. Let's be clear, there must be a team leader. I am the head of my household. The Bible says that the man's job is to lead. But when you lead, you're leading a team. I wanna make sure that the team is working together as one. I don't believe in just letting my wife do whatever, spend however, and then I'm wondering, "Hey, what's going on with the money?" No, we come together as one, and we have one account. But the con with having a joint account is there's more risk if one person is bad with money. Now, if that's the case, this is why you need to look into the financial counseling. I mentioned that earlier. You need to make sure that the money fights are discussed before it ends in divorce. Before I set up a joint account, I went through financial training. If you're not giving your spouse financial training, you're setting them up for failure once you create a joint account because you create the joint account, you're not good with money, and then you're going to be upset and it could lead to a divorce. You wanna make sure that you've done your due diligence. The 8th step, communicate major life events. Communicate major life events. When you communicate major life events, that will ensure that you guys don't fall out over big stuff. Let me tell you why a lot of marriages end in divorce. Because they never took the time to talk about how their finances would change when having children. They never took the time to plan for their retirement. You need to speak about the impact of major life events. Look at what's going on with Tom Brady and his wife. There's a lot of rumors that they're facing divorce because they're not clear about Brady's retirement. It's not enough just to make the money and have success. Both parties gotta be on the same page and agree, "Hey, this is where we stand in our marriage. This is where we stand with our children. This is where we stand with our retirement. This is where we stand with our money." You've got to operate as one. And the reason why you gotta talk about major life events is because major life events impacts your finances. If there's something that happened with your child that could impact the finances, you might gotta take them to the hospital. You may need to have an emergency meeting to strategize. You got to be willing to make adjustments. Here's where another problem comes in. A lot of people have these different life changes, but they want to act like their life was exactly as it was 2 years ago. When me and my wife had a child, we had to make financial adjustments. When me and my wife moved, we needed to adjust financially. The scriptures tell you that when you enter in a marriage, you pray that you grow aged together. So if you're going to age together, your life might look different in your 30s than it did in your 20s. Your life will look different in your 40s than your 30s. Got to adjust plan. And a lot of people get into marriage problems and money fights because one person still their money the exact same way they did before they got married at all. Can I get a witness? I know a lot of husbands pissed off because their wife is spending money the same way that she did when she was single, wasn't married. Now you got a whole family. You cannot spend the same way that you used to because you have different obligations. You have to make more adjustments. You gotta look at the circumstances and set a financial plan. You gotta make sure as these life events happen, you realign your goals. May have to create new goals based upon circumstances. Prime example, when my son was born, we had new goals in place financially. I had to make sure that my son already had an investment account. I had to reallocate the finances from things going into my account to taking a portion of what I would have put for me and putting it for him. Where we live was influenced by my son's birth. Am I putting him in a good community? Is this going to be a good place to raise a family? When it was just me and my spouse, we could live somewhere totally different, and having a kid didn't matter. As your life changes, so must your plans. So when we go into this next step, we gotta talk about the importance of estate planning and end of life financial planning. You gotta think about your estate, y'all. If you're married, you should not just be thinking about today. You gotta be thinking about tomorrow. And this is obviously called Generational Wealth Podcast because we're planning for future generations. You've gotta take the to establish what you want future generations to look like. And you might be very young, but right now is the time where you've got to roadmap. Where do we want our children to be? How do we want them to grow as adults? How are we going to sponsor that financially? Don't wait until your retirement to start thinking about this. You need to be focusing on this now. And you know the reason why? Because if you wait until you're too you might get there and realize that a lot of the plans that you wanted to make should have gotten started when you were 20, 30, 40 years old. You've got to reverse engineer. My wife and I are working on a lot of things right now that's purely dedicated to our child and our children's children. We've got a good base for our life. I own over $1 million worth of real estate right now. But my goal is to make sure that I'm laying an estate for my children's children. That's what the Bible says. A good man leaveth an inheritance for his children's children. So if you're only thinking about the present, there's never going to be any time for tomorrow. And what happens in our communities, y'all, when somebody dies? The only thing that you're leaving behind is a pair of J's. Selfish. Never thinking about the future generation, no will, no trust, no life insurance, no nothing. And now everybody is having to make arrangements for you that you should have made while you were still living. That's one of the worst things that you can ever do to your family. Not having any final arrangements prepared for your life, and everybody is trying to figure out what to do. How many times have you seen black families fight because there was no will for the deceased, and now everybody is at odds? This is how families get into drama. If you want to avoid marriage fights, focus on your financial plan. Focus on creating your estate. This includes creating a will, getting a trust, making sure that you have a generational wealth plan in place. And with that, that's going to bring us to number 10, having insurance and savings. You might take this step for granted, but I promise you, if you can get step 10 right, that's going to save you from a lot of fights right there. Remember what I said before, money is the second leading cause of divorce in America. And 70% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Do the math. That means most families break apart because they're tired of living paycheck to paycheck together. What you need to do to avoid this is to have insurance and savings, because when you have insurance and savings, it gives you a lot of peace of mind. If we go through a recession and people lose jobs, that's where a lot of money fights are gonna start. But if you already have 3 to 6 months of expenses saved up, you'll have enough coverage to weather the storm. This is going to give your family security. All right, so I hope that y'all appreciated these 10 steps. Just to recap it once more, the 10 ways to succeed with money in your marriage is: first, having a discussion about money before you get married, understanding the personalities, knowing the importance of having financial goals as a couple, knowing the importance of having a budget to put everybody on the same page. Those are the first 4. Number 5, the importance of communicating how the budget is going during the month. You gotta be able to see, is things on the right track? That way, you're not putting everything off into the last minute. A lot of money fights happen because people hold back until it's too late, and then by that point, you can't get in front of it. Number 6, how to handle money fights. Having ways to have effective communication. Number 7, we talked about separate versus joint accounts. Number 8, we talked about communicating about major life events. Number 9, we talked about the importance of estate planning and end of life financial planning. Number 10, we talked about having insurance and savings. If you follow these 10 steps, you might need to watch this video second time, is going to do a lot for your family. This is the key to generational wealth. Shout out to my sister Serafina. Wow, I didn't know that she was on the Generational Wealth podcast. The sister is on the Generational Wealth podcast and she donated. Look at God. Thank you so much, my sister. Really appreciate it. For those of you that are tapped in, make sure that you like, make sure that you donate. All you got to do is tap the dollar icon directly below, and your donation goes a very long way. For some reason, we keep getting ties. Y'all keep trying to tie each other for top sponsor. Of last week, we had a three-way tie between A Diamond, Elder Yakin, and we had another sponsor. Don't have me out here forgetting names, y'all. Shout out to all of the sponsors. Brother Kanan came through big time. But now we got a two-way tie between Brother Yasha Allah and Sister Serafina, both with a $10 sponsorship. Okay. Whoever makes the highest donation will be the official sponsor. If y'all want to donate, tap the dollar icon directly below. If you've donated through Cash App, please let me know. $ Gen Wealth Podcast. Great question from Brother Gabar. So is it our money or his and her money in a marriage? You're no more twain but one flesh. This is ours. The man is the head of the household. His job is to lead, but I want us to operate as one on one accord. We have to put our goals together. This is our money for our house. I'm the leader. This is our future. Remember, a house divided against itself cannot stand. So you got to be very clear on how to work together as one. Oh, here we go now. Here we go now. Valiant Thor, he trying to start stuff. He trying to start stuff, brother Yasha Allah. Valiant Thor says, men have money. Now I can support my family. Women have money. I don't need a man. Dang. Well, Brother Yashala, I think this is going to be a good time to bring you into the discussion right now, sir. How are you doing? It's good to see you on. What are your thoughts on money and relationships? Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. I'm trying to make sure that the audio is good. It's I'm hearing a bit of a kind of a static. Do y'all hear that? Oh, it's bad, sir. It's bad. We can't even make out what you're saying. We can't make it out. I'm sorry. If you could maybe try to reconnect your audio or something. Is anybody else hearing that? Is it just me? Right now, it's a real bad static. For those of y'all that are on, please make sure that you smash that like button. Tonight, we're talking about money and relationships, how to discuss finances with your spouse. Please make sure that y'all share this podcast because I know y'all got family members and friends that need to hear it. Sister Ariel said, yes, it is so bad. I don't know what happened, Brother Yashala. Usually you're good money, but tonight is tripping. I don't know if you want to try one more time or if you want to disconnect, reconnect. I don't know what the plan is, sir. If any of y'all are looking, I'm going to bring it back on me as Brother Yashala gets himself situated. For those of y'all that are trying to join, make sure that you click the link. Sister Yanaya, funny. She said, I hear Donald Duck. Brother Yashala, that's what you sound like with the mic being distorted, like the brother Gabar said. Sister Yanaya said you sound like Donald Duck. Okay, Brother Yashala said that he's going to reconnect. For any of y'all that want to cam up, the link is in the comments below. Make sure that y'all tap in. Tonight, we're talking about how to discuss finances with your spouse. Valiant Thor says, if a woman has a new guy, her friends will ask, what does he do? Absolutely. Because women are hypergamous. She wants to know, hey, is this man leveling me up financially? Or am I feeling that he is beneath me? That's how a lot of our sisters view it. I'm just keeping it a buck. One of the first things that they're going to want to know is, how much money are you making? Valiant Thor, he got everybody now co-signing. Babalico said, Valiant, facts. I got to just put it out there so y'all can see what Valiant is saying. Valiant Thor said, a rich man can change a broke woman's life. That is a fact. But a rich woman would never look a broke man's way. There's this show, Ariel, you gotta put that in the comments. It's one of those shows about the millionaires. Like, I don't know if it's Millionaire Matchmaker, but it's one of those shows. And you always tend to notice if there's a man that's wealthy and takes on a woman, he's not worried about that woman's money. But if it's a woman that has money, if the man isn't paid, it's always a big problem. It's always a big setback. And I thought about that when you said it, marrying millions. That's what it is. That's what I'm talking about, Ariel. Marrying millions. It's this show called Marrying Millions. If y'all ain't seen it, it's wild. But it really does highlight how things are different between a man and a woman. Shout out to my brother, Akaman. Good to see you on. My brother Ak was definitely a top sponsor on last Friday's podcast. Thank you so much, my brother. It's good to see you on. I pray that you had a great weekend. He said, all praises for my wife, Gee Whiz. Yes, you got to be able to have a woman that can stand by you through thick and thin. You know, back in the days when they did marriages, they used to say for richer or for poorer. I don't know if they say that now because it don't seem like it the way a lot of people be rolling. The way that people roll now, if your chips are ever down, ooh wee, it's over for you. But a lot of marriages stuck together in the Black community because there was a duty and a commitment through good and bad. But a lot of that is being changed right now because of money, especially with what Valiant Thor said. Women have money. I don't need a man. Now, I will say there's a few you got to look high and low. You got to look who virtuous wife. Who can find her? There's a few women that know how to make a little money, but they still know how to honor their husbands. And that's a beautiful thing. But I'm just telling y'all now, you're going to be hard pressed to find that, brothers. And even if you do find that kind of woman, you got to be the right type of man to find a woman like that. But I'm just making it known. A lot of men that are successful don't care about women's money. But a lot of women that have money, they think that that's the most important thing that makes them attractive. And that's not true, ladies. The men will tell you in the comments, yeah, you make your money, but for a man that's already getting to his money, he's not concerned. He's already knowing how to provide for himself. So don't think that the money is going to make or break the relationship coming from your end. Valiant Thor says, if you have a new girlfriend, your friends will ask, what is she like? What's her personality? If a woman has a new guy, her friends will ask, what does he do? Absolutely. That's the difference. All right. Brother Yashala is back on. Hopefully it's working this time. Brother Yashala, you there?
Yes, shalom, Ella. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Good to go. How you doing, sir?
I'm pretty good. I pulled the side of the road. I'm burning that midnight oil tonight and everything else.
Man,
So,
brother Yashala, he be getting it, man.
but you're correct. My first two marriages, the same thing. I didn't know the truth then. You're gonna get in big fights. That's just the way it is. You're not on the same page. You're not thinking about anything else. When the kids come, and I was a lot older than they were, so my focus was the children. That's it. Not finances for the future. Make sure they take care of. I come from a poor family. I want to have to my kids, but they're not thinking when you're thinking. World War III is gonna break out, and the old saying is, "I'm finna go to jail tonight." you
Yeah.
know,
Yes, sir.
you know what I mean. But you're correct. You got to be on the same page. You have to be. And since I came to the truth, and I'm older now in your classes, I got to tell everybody else, I'm not just getting married to anybody. Check the, check the credit scores. Everything you said, I've been through it. You're correct. Check 3% credit score. What? That let me know a lot about you. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? You know, I mean, spending money. Why are you spending money? We don't have the money, and that happens a lot.
You know the reason why I'm glad that you said that, brother Yashala? Because most people underestimate how much you can learn about a person through their money habits. You can tell how organized a person is through their money habits. You can tell how well a person manages their time. You could tell if someone is responsible. You could tell if somebody is a big risk taker. There's a lot that you can understand about the opposite sex just by how they manage money. And see, a lot of brothers, you know how I go, brother Yasha Allah, big button, a smile. That's all it takes for brothers to go head over heels. But they don't realize if you're not paying attention to the signs, you'll see things about how the opposite sex manages money. And then you'll realize that behavior is going to make you mad whenever you get married because they're going to make decisions and you're going to wonder why they did that. You're going to ask for help on things and they might not know how to do stuff. Or on the flip side, like how brothers are saying, sometimes, especially if the opposite sex, and let's say that that's a woman, is so focused on their career, that means your needs could get pushed to the back burner. A lot of brothers don't think about that. You can tell a lot about the opposite sex by how they manage money. I'm going to bring my brother Rick Judah into the stream. Good to see you, King.
Yo, what's going on with you, man? Peace be with y'all, brothers. How y'all doing? Shalom, shalom.
Doing great, man. Peace and blessings. So we got our brother Rick into the stream. We got brother Yasha Allah. It's going down, y'all. What you got on this topic, brother Rick? Money and relationships.
Hey, I wanted to, basically support what you said. Piggyback off it big time. You said you can tell a lot about how someone is by how they manage their money. If they're careless, if they just pretty much frivolously spend, they usually frivolously do other things in their lives. Like their spirit is kind of, there's no organization there. Like I said, no structure. It's just do whatever at any time. And usually that same type of person will destroy themselves. So I 100% agree with that. And I love what you was talking about earlier about the husband and wives, like just being able to, you have a budget and you like, okay, here, you can have the world within this framework. Within here, you can pretty much get what you want, take care of what you want. You got to just say $3,000 limit, which it's super high, but get $3,000 limit. Work within 3,000. If you spend $3,003, you tested me on purpose. You get what I'm saying? So I like how you do that. That's something that actually I was like, I might have to consider that. Like have a budget and be like, I spend within here.
The brother Rick is a big baller, y'all. He be giving his wife thousands on thousands to be able to spend for play money, man. We gotta get like brother Rick.
Nah, I'm trying to catch you. hey, brother Uzziah, he wouldn't let me spend no money when I came out there, man. He wouldn't let me do it, man. So I'm trying to get on that level.
Oh man, nothing but hospitality, my brother. Good to see you on as always, brother Yasha Allah. What you think about this, man? Brother Rick had mentioned that he got a lot of value from already having a category for your spouse to spend money. Okay, this is the play money. This is the budget. These are the goals. What you think about that?
Shalom, big brother Rick Judah. Remember Rick and everything. And it's a great idea because you have to do it. Even my daughter's in the truth now. I got one. She has a budget. This is your budget, $50 a week. You can do what you want to do with the money. And even now, she's 20. She don't even want to spend the money. She wants to spend my money, but she wants to spend her money. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, first maintaining your personal hygiene, your personal body, your fingernails, your hair, your lipstick. Hey, spend this right here for you because I want you to look good. That's, what I'm saying? This is for the kids. This is for the clothing. You know what I mean? You have to set that apart. If you don't, because kids grow. They grow fast. Like, wasn't you 2 years old? That's last week?
Yeah.
Now they 5. You know what I'm saying?
I'm learning.
So you got to set that away. You got to set it away. You got to know what you're looking for. You got to know, because I was gone most of the time. So you got to come back home and check your finances, because if you're not strict and they're not strict, they will spend it.
Absolutely. I got a question I want to ask y'all. What has been the biggest source of money fights in your marriage? If there was one thing that you could say, this is what caused a lot of problems, what would it be?
To me, unnecessary spending. Just like come home and with the mortgage, they calling your house about your mortgage ain't been paid. What? Your mortgage ain't been paid. And you trying to find out, and you sit down and talk, and you start seeing the eyes start roaming, you already know what happened. You know what I'm saying? And that's when the fights come out. You lose your mind. Cops call on me a couple of times because I'm about to go off. My daddy had to call me from Georgia, Texas, because I'm about to go off. You know what I'm saying? Because that's like, I'm working, and what you doing with the money? Well, I want to go party.
Uh-oh.
Party before you got married. You know what I mean?
Brother Yasha Allah say he was about to catch a case, y'all. We got to pray for Brother Yasha Allah. Happy to have you here with us, Brother Yasha Allah. Glad that you made it through. But yes, that's a perfect example. So you're out here making the money, and then you leave the money for your wife to take care of the bills, and instead of handling business, money is being skimmed from the top.
Correct.
What you got on that, brother Rick?
I was gonna say lack of preparation for me, like and I mean lack of preparation where something gets taken out of the direct, like out of your bank account is like just automated, and it's like, oh shoot, I forgot, and it's like I'll be like, why'd you spend? You know what? Dang, that was on me. So usually the fight can't go that far because I always look at myself like, you know what? That's my bad. I ain't even gonna trip on you because I should have been ready for this. So
Yeah.
that's usually what happens though. If it gets ready to get into any type of a spat, it's like lack of preparation. Like something came out and it might be a $300 or $400 bill came out. It's like, dang, I wasn't ready for that. And yeah, that's one of the biggest problems.
Wow, lack of preparation. That's a good one. We got another guest tonight, y'all. This is a special occasion. We got the one and only Ak Aman Israel in the house. What's going on, my brother? It's good to see you, King.
How y'all doing, family? Shalom, family. Shalom, brother Rick, Yasharala. How y'all doing, family?
Shalom.
Good, man. It's good to see you.
Peace be with you, bro.
Yeah, man. This is a good topic. All praise to the Most High for my wife. That it's good for couples to work as a team and have structure, and work as a team as financial goals. Cause the way that some people grow up, for us through the women, they do stuff underhanded or sneaky per se, or behind the husband's back, right? And what they have to do, work as a team and come together as one, right? And set the financial goals with learn together what is needed to be done, like pay off your debts, right? Emergency savings, invest in the index funds, or real estate, what the case may be, but work as a team step by step, and each step one at a time. Like take your time and do it. Don't rush into things, you'll crash. So
I love the fact that you said that, because I think it's real important that we speak about having the right woman by your side.
yes.
This is a panel filled with brothers, y'all. So we got to have that talk. Having the right woman by your side. A lot of ladies, I got to call y'all out. A lot of women like to wait for a man at the finish line.
Mhm.
They want him to already have the money, already have the financial freedom, and then you just come into all the success. The brother Yashala laughing because he knows I'm telling the truth.
That's right.
But when you talk about marriage, a lot of times it's a building process.
Mhm.
Even if you're already at a certain level, if you're married to a person long enough, you could grow together. You could grow to the next level. So I remember, like, when me and my wife got married, it went from getting out of debt to investing in real estate to quitting my 9-to-5 job. Even when I had a good financial foundation, there were still more that I was trying to accomplish. So a lot of times, brothers will say, well, you know what, if I'm already coming to the table with this, I'm good. But you can never get to the next level if the person that's riding with you is holding you down.
That's right.
So when it came to getting out of debt, my wife had to be on board with that. When it came to investing in real estate, she needed to be on the same page. If I was going through any of these endeavors and she wasn't on board, that's when everything gets sabotaged. And I always would tell her, I don't want to drag you along. I need you to be on board with me. And I think a lot of brothers need to hear that, man, because a lot of guys think, okay, you know what? I'm gonna just tuck my wife to the background. I'm gonna do it all myself. But if you're working together in a marriage, that's the right way to make sure that you can go as far as you can.
Absolutely.
What y'all got on that?
Hey, I was gonna okay, never mind. All right, never mind. I was gonna say, as you said, you don't want them to be, you don't want to drag them along, or in the building process, they got to be supporting you. You don't want them plucking down your home while you're building it up, because we know how the foolish one can do it. It can pluck down your home and then destroy what you got. If they running with you every step of the way, or at least if they take the baton when you pass it out instead of dropping it, then yeah, you working with something, but you ain't working with nothing if they not like actually running the race with you and actually trying to win that goal.
Absolutely, man. And one thing I like a lot about that, when you operate as a team, there'll be things that you're good at. There's things that your wife is good at. You got to work that, build that together. Brother Ak, what you got on that?
Yeah. Basically what he said, that basically you got to find out which one of you is good in finance. Like, I know we the head, but sometimes the other half might be good in finance and you're not, or sometimes you might be good in finance and she not. So in the case of my household, I'm the one that's good in the finance, and my wife admits that. So I take care of all of the finance that come into the household, right? And I teach her also how to deal with finances as well, right? So that's why we will be able to attack our debt together, because we was on the same team. Like me, you already know what my own profession is. I'm a delivery driver, also a mobile detailer. And my wife, she loves to cook, so she cater food and things of that nature, right? So what she do when she make her hustle, when she come in with her hustle, she give it to me, and I have a whole board right up on the wall, and we went debt after debt after debt after debt, to the point that we pay off our debts within a couple of years quickly.
Amazing.
I'm talking about far as car notes, what have you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now we're on the next journey of purchasing our home, right? The next journey after that, you know, and in between our journey, we invest in things of that nature. So yeah.
Yes, sir. And that's the way to do it. And I'm glad that you laid that out. And the most important thing that stuck with me is when you said, I'm the one that's good with finances in the house. And she agreed with that.
Yes.
A lot of brothers get slipped up because they might have certain skills, but their wife won't accept that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of times ego comes in the way. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's certain things, bro, especially in marriage, it's like nobody wants to say, oh, I'm not good at that. You know, for some, it might be cleaning. For some, it might be cooking. For some, it might be when it comes to the money. Some people might try to convince themselves that they're good with money and they're not. And that can sabotage the relationship. So it's very good when you have a wife that can say, hey, I've watched my husband. I see what he can do. I acknowledge that he's good at this, this, and this. I won't get in his way. My job is to help him, not to hurt him. So I'm going to focus on furthering his agenda. But a lot of times, if you got a spouse and they don't want to be real with themselves, because you know it's a lot of boss chick energy going around.
Right.
If you bring that boss chick energy, but you're bad with money, that thing could ruin the marriage right there. So, Brother Yashala, what you think on that?
And you're correct. You have to agree. Like me, I've been single for over 26 years. If I get married again, I'm sorry. It got to be a prenup. That's why I was laughing. They want you to get the bank first. They want you to, not everybody, sister, not talking about everybody, okay? They want you to do all the work for yourself. Oh, then they want to climb on board and act like you never worked for it to get this way, and then you're crazy because you don't want to spend money on this. No, I'm not crazy. I don't need it. You don't need it. So why would I spend money on this when I don't need it? So, but and you gotta be careful. And me, back then I had separate accounts. Like you said, I had separate accounts. My father taught me, my grandfather taught me how to joint account, my account, then her account. You know what I mean? Because you get taken if you ain't on the right path. You don't agree. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but you gotta that wasn't in the truth then, like a lot of brothers are now. If you don't, it's going to happen. It's nasty.
Right.
I'm telling you straight. Once that happened with the kids, when I say nasty, it's nasty.
And that's the importance of the truth. Getting together on one accord. Because a lot of times, like especially in our families, you'll be seeing husbands and their wives coming together, but their mind is in two different places. And that will cause a lot of problems. That's why I like what the brother Gabar said. Hast thou a wife after thy mind? Forsake her not. So much of marriage is just making sure that you get on the same page before you get married.
Hey, like script says, hey, let this mind be in you, except switch that up, that is also in thy husband.
There you go. There you go. A lot. Oh, go ahead, brother Yashala. You was about to say something?
Yeah, and sisters, elders also talking about sisters. Don't be a dummy either. Just don't. You still got to check behind your husband because he can be spending money recklessly and leave you and the kids hanging. So you got to be there. Hey, doing too much. Do respectfully, as the scriptures say. And if not, you're not in the scriptures, always do respectfully. Say, hey, what about our kids? Why are you spending money on this? Why are you spending money on that? That's a little too much. You know what I mean? So, but yes, you got to be. If you don't, and the new generation is going to have a hard time. I'm sorry. That's the way it is.
And the thing about that, I just got to say this, brother Yashala. This is the reason why I always tell sisters in counsel, make sure that you pick the right husband. Because a lot of times, y'all know how it go. It just turned into sexing, and then that's how it turns into marriage, and you don't know how the husband is financially. You don't know how he spends his money. These are all things that you're supposed to learn before you get married. And the reason why this is so important is because you got to be able to know what type of man that you're dealing with so that you can best support him. If you're going into a marriage knowing, hey, the man that I'm marrying is horrible with money, don't expect to live the same lifestyle as a sister that's married to a guy that manages his money well. I've seen a lot of that.
That's right.
A lot of these sisters, hey, why we ain't going on the cruise like this family is doing? Why we ain't going on the vacation like Akaman and his wife is doing?
That's right.
It's because y'all ain't managing y'all's money like House of Akaman is doing. But you should have known that before you open your legs. Don't get me to talking.
Uh-oh.
So that's what I'm just saying. Like, these are things that we got to know, man. And see, a lot of things that sisters get twisted too, they're so focused on how much money does the man make. They never think about how much money does the man keep.
That's right.
Every boss babe want to talk about, does a man make six figures? But what does it matter if you make six figures if you're spending seven? This is where the subject of net worth comes in. How does your credit look? How is your savings? Are you actually cash flow positive? See, we get caught up in a lot of these superficial talks, but marriage is the real deal. So, ladies, we hope that you're soaking up this game because we're talking about real situations and brothers are putting it out there. Hey, the number one thing that's caused a problem for fights in my marriage with money has been this. Brother Ak, did you lay that out? I know that Brother Yasha Allah had mentioned, spending was the source of money fights for him. And Brother Rick talked about preparation. what has been the number one source of money fights for you in your marriage?
Well, I can tell you the marriage from the past. My
Okay.
first one, that one, because all praise the Most High. My second one, right, was in this truth for sure. It's a blessing.
Right.
No problems, bro. I mean, like no clashing or anything of that nature, right? Because we had that understanding. Because we both went through trials and tribulations through our previous marriage, right?
Right.
We lived and learned. Now, on the first note, man, spending habits. Not me.
let's be clear.
Let's be clear. Not me. Because I always was conscious about for as poor money management in our community anyway, right?
Right.
Oh, man. My ex-wife caught up and see them casinos. Shoo. Eat your money alive, man. I've been there, done that. And bro, Yasharala talking about, yeah.
You didn't live that.
I didn't live that, been there, done that. So I know what he mean about joint account, separate accounts. You see what I mean? You never know what's gonna happen at the end of that wall. You never know, because I've been there, done that.
Right.
My first marriage, I got married when I was 21 years old. My first marriage, right? And lasted like 17 years, right?
Wow.
And we had a good run. But after Hurricane Katrina that happened out here in New Orleans, 2005, that's when the money problems really kicked in. Not far as no money flowing in, I'm talking about far as poor money management, right? You know, the term I use that, you know how we say we won't make it rain. You know, you don't have no money, but you won't make it rain.
Right.
Your dad broke, but you won't make it rain. You won't front and stunt like you have money. You know, and so that's the biggest argument that I have of spending unnecessary money that you don't have.
Right.
So, yeah.
I thank you so much for sharing that story, brother, because that really touches on what I said earlier about communicating a major life change. You know, going through something like Hurricane Katrina, you got to now reevaluate. Hey, this happened. This is what this is going to look like moving forward. And a lot of times, especially when you talk about marriages, a lot of sisters want to get shaky when the money get tight. A lot of times people, they really show you if they really riding with you when you know what hits the fan. And so that's the reason why, just like Brother Akaman said, you could be in marriage for a long time, but a major life event, it can really show you who you're working with. And so thank you for sharing that, Brother Ak. Is there anything else that y'all wanted to put out there before we end the podcast?
Nah, everything is gravy.
Excellent, excellent.
Elder, Sirach 25:1. That what comes to mind right there.
Oh yeah, a man and wife that agree together, huh?
Yes,
because you got to do it. That's the way it is.
Yeah,
it is.
Man, that's a full-time job, ain't it?
And if they don't agree together, you're gonna get what Akaman said. You're gonna try to make it rain, and rain's gonna turn into dust and powder, like the curses.
Right.
Facts. Well, brothers, it's been real, man. Thank y'all so much for joining the podcast. I'm happy to be back on. Let's make sure that we do this again, man. The people need to see this. Thank you, brothers. I hope y'all have a good night.
All right, you too. Peace.
Shalom,
peace.
Shalom, fam.
All right, so we hope that y'all got something good tonight, y'all. Was y'all entertained? Are you not entertained? That's what the Generational Wealth Podcast is all about, guys. So if you enjoyed tonight's podcast, please make sure to like. Please make sure to subscribe. And if you haven't already done so, please make sure that you tap that dollar icon directly below so that you could give a sponsorship. I'm planning to be on these shows 3 times a week, Lord's will. We're going to see how long we can keep it going. but y'all know I cannot do this without your support. Okay, so I want to give a big shout out to everyone who was on, and I want to give a big shout out to all of the sponsors for tonight's podcast. I want to give a big shout out to Sister Serafina, and I want to give a big shout out to Brother Yasha Allah, who both gave a $10 donation. Thank y'all so much for the support. Also, I want to give a big shout out to my sister A Diamond. That was the third sister that made that $20 donation last week. I ain't forgot about you, sis. For those of you that are focusing on the next 12 months, I invite you to join my elite program, Your Breakthrough Year. Your Breakthrough Year is an elite 12-month coaching program that's designed to help you reach your goals, make more money, and maximize your productivity. When you join this program, I'll give you a step-by-step process to reach your goals 10 times faster. So let's talk a little bit about your Breakthrough Year. When you join your Breakthrough Year, every month, I'm going to be giving you 2 critical lessons for you to dominate the next 12 months of your life. We're going to plan your goals together. We're going to discuss time management, money management, energy management. You're going to hear things that you have never heard before. If you guys enjoy my free content, you're going to get so much more when you get into the program. And if you're trying to have your best year ever, now is the time to join. Guys, we're still very early in 2023. If you're feeling stuck and you don't know how to move forward, you need to join your Breakthrough Year, because in this program, I'm going to show you how the most successful people in the world manage their time, money, and energy to have world-class results. If 2023 is going to be your breakthrough year, this is the program for you. This is when I, Uzziah, your success strategist, am breaking down how I was able to pay off over $95,000 in debt when I was 23, how I was able to invest in my first real estate investment in North Austin by 25, how I retired from corporate America at age 26 and became a best-selling author. All of these things happened in my 20s, guys. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you now in my 30s is because I want to take the time to break down the process of how I did it. A lot of you guys know me as a church leader, as a business owner, and I want to show you how high-performance people make the most of their day. They don't just wake up and do random things. They follow a process that is very strategic. So if you want to be a high performer, join your breakthrough year. I'm telling you, you're going to get 10 times the value than the cost of admission. It's not a cost, it's an investment. The value is going to be life-changing. So make sure, if you want to join, the link is in the comments below. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Yes, Talk That Truth Radio says, I'm still amazed at how you paid off nearly 100K in a short time. Hey, all praises to the Most High. I need y'all to just follow the podcast. I need you to see how I do this, okay? My job is to share this with our culture because we are all one nation. It's not just about one person. It's about all of us moving forward, all right? A chain is only as strong as its weakest link. And so please make sure that you continue to show support. Thank you once again, my sister Serafina. She said, awesome podcast. Glad I joined in tonight. Happy to have you. She said, sending another donation on Cash App. That really means a lot, my sister. Thank you so much. That really means a lot. Shout out to my brother, Minnesota E, said all praises. For those of y'all that are new to this channel, I've been on YouTube for years, y'all. And, I've come on and off this particular channel because there's so much work that I do within my church, True Spirit of Christ. When you go on this channel, you're going to find entire playlists dedicated to how to manage your money, how to get a better job in 90 days, how to start your own business. It's all right here. There are over 300 videos that I've put together showing you how to create generational wealth. Make sure that you subscribe, okay? I want to get back to doing shows 3 times a week. I'm going to try to do these shows Mondays and Wednesdays at 6:30 Central. Fridays, I want to do it a little bit earlier, around 4 to 4:30, but I'll keep y'all posted, okay? So please make sure, as always, that you guys stay tuned for the next podcast. Lord willing, I'll be back on here this Wednesday. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. Thank you all for your support. And until next time, y'all, keep pushing. Stay focused.